It's my distinct pleasure to present our friend and inductee into the Country Radio Hall of Fame, Lee Rogers.
They don't usually honor you with things like this until you're dead. I only say that half jokingly. You know, December 18th, 2009, I finished what I thought would be my last morning show at KUPL in Portland. And a few weeks later, my lovely wife Peggy and I loaded all our belongings in Oregon into a moving van and waved goodbye as it headed for Arizona. 2 days later, with nothing but dreams of living the rest of our lives together in the sunshine and kicking Lon Helton's ass at golf twice a year, dancing in my head, off we went. 2 days after that, we stopped in Redding, California, and my life changed forever. That night in the hotel, I suffered a stroke. 2 days later, 4 days later, in the hospital, I was intensive. I suffered a second stroke. And only because of the grace and glory of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, do I stand before you tonight. I learned in that instant not to take anything in life for granted. So if you'll bear with me, I'd like to take just a moment to thank a few people without whom I would never have been afforded this honor. To Ernest Tubb, Merle Haggard, George Jones, for teaching me to love country music. To Reba, Waylon, Garth, and my dear friend and great patriot, Charlie Daniels, for turning that passion or love into a passion that I still feel deeply in my heart today. To Dick Elliott, the first general manager that ever gave me a chance to program a radio station. To every subsequent general manager who wanted to fire me but didn't. I certainly wouldn't be here without you. In that very first job, I met Jay Albright, who for the next 30 years loved and personally and professionally nurtured me. And as I've stated before, I would take a bullet for Jay Albright to this day. By the way, Jay, Joel Rabb, John Paul, any of the PDs I ever worked for, general managers or consultants that ever gave me advice and hounded me about show prep, I finally did some. I can't read it, but just let me say, if there are any young air talents out there, young program directors who are just getting started in the business, but especially you air talents, you do not receive one of those without doing a lot of this. To Lon Helton and Charlie Cook for their lifelong friendship and for 3 of the best years I ever had in this business. Charlie, the only thing that could have made this honor better for me tonight, having you be inducted on this night with me is the thing that made it better for me. To be here tonight. Charlie, I love you dearly. Lon, you as well. I want to say thank you to our dearly beloved friend Dean Hallen and Tom Rivers. May they rest in peace. To Moon Mullins, Jay Phillips, my friend Dale Carter. All I ever wanted to be was half as good as you guys. Dan Halliburton, who inspired me at the Billboard Awards show so many years ago when I went there as a young kid and was sitting there reading a Tom Peters book, and he came over and said, "Oh, that's a good book," and he befriended me, and he's stayed in touch with me all these years. Truly, radio is blessed with Dan Halliburton. Thank you, Dan. You've inspired me. I want to say thank you to Becky Brenner. Because Becky, you should be standing here tonight because you have inspired a whole new generation of young women, program directors, air talents, production directors, record reps. I mean, you broke ground for them, Becky. And I'm honored to have shared a studio with you. Well, I never thought I'd ever be at a loss for words. There's some people in the audience tonight that make this night especially thrilling for me. Kay Jewell and David Youngblood, the best radio promotions team I ever worked with. Thank you for being here. Kay couldn't make it at the last minute. A friend of hers, only 44 years old, suffered a heart attack, and she couldn't make it. My son, Lee Sr., is here. Right over there. Stand up, Lee. I know I have to explain that, but when I went to Denver, Colorado to take a job, my real name is Lynn, and there was already a Lynn on the air there, so I took my son's name. And so he's been Lee Sr., and I've been Lee Jr. ever since. Finally, I get to stand at a podium where I get a chance for the first time since I met my beautiful, sexy wife, Peggy. I want to say thank you. Because she has been with me through far more of the worse than the better, trust me, and stayed right by my side. Honey, you. And last but not least, it seems like yesterday, but in 1967 and 68, I shared a hooch in Southeast Asia with a young surfer boy from Virginia Beach, Virginia. We were inseparable. We were best friends. He had my 6 and I had his. He called me big brother. I called him little brother. And somehow, some way, he found me on the internet about a month ago. And when I told him of this night, he said only death would keep him from being here. And so last night, after 43 years, we realized, Sergeant Raymond, stand up, my brother. Michaels for teaching me that winning is everything. And I can't forget the day that he came up to me and he said, whoops, Lee, don't give up until the program director across the street is fired on Christmas Eve. I want you to know how lucky you all are to be in this business. I wouldn't be standing here tonight without all of the wonderful record reps who worked the 200 or 300 regions I worked in 43 years. Because I didn't always agree with you, but I came to love you all. And I'm here to tell the rest of the world you have one of the toughest jobs in the industry. And many of today's biggest stars have you, in large part, to thank for their success. Let's have, radio people, let's have a nice round of applause for all of our friends in the record business. Oh, I could tell you some stories about Rick Moxley or Kevin Herring, but I'd never work in this business again. And I'm not going to tell you a lot of stories, and I'm not going to take a lot more of your time. But I do want to say this to you. Believe in yourself. Believe in God. And don't give up until they fire the competition on Christmas Eve. Thank you.